it looks like this is an this infinitive is something nominal and it has features. It doesn't actually have features. It doesn't have, well, it does not have features that can feed agreement. It gets features from here, but now this whole thing is ostensibly feminine, and it's an argument of be possible, so why don't you get feminine here? So the simplest way to think about this is that these features on the infinitive, they are not themselves accessible for further agreement. They are there, but the infinitival clause as a whole does not have feminine features. The only way you can get feminine features is to look inside it. And when you look inside it, that can only be done if you are in a LDA environment. If there is no LDA, you won't be able to look inside. Okay, and so that's it. So, so what I say, the difference between Hindi and Kashmiri is that Kashmiri inf functions as a probe, Hindi inf does not. But the restructuring system, the LDA system of Kashmiri and the LDA system of Hindi, they're not that different. The system is basically the same, but there is one difference, whether you have independent infinitival agreement or not. Okay, so that's basically what there is to say about this. Okay, so I think now I'm going to cover two other points. So now I'm going to switch to the board. Yeah, I don't need the slides anymore, so. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is, do we have any independent diagnostics for restructuring? Okay, so restructuring has been a phenomenon, even though it has been studied in some depth, and the person who has done the most to advance the study of restructuring is a linguist at the University of Connecticut, Susie Wurmbrand. So if you want to learn more about restructuring, you should read papers, you should read her book, and you should read, she has written extensively on this topic, lots of interesting things there. So Wurmbrand is the one. So what she notes, and I think other people have also noted this, is that there doesn't seem to be any cross-linguistically reliable diagnostics for restructuring. So you kind of have to invent restructuring diagnostics from language to language. Okay. So one example, so in German, there is one diagnostic. It doesn't work for Hindi, but I'll tell you what that diagnostic is. So German has scrambling. Okay, and when people, so I'll just give you an example of what that would look like in German. So let's see. Yeah, so German infinitival clauses. So we'll do verb final word orders in German. So John, apple, to eat, wanted. So in these clauses in German, you can take this guy, and so there is a that here. Okay, so it's embedded. You can take this, you can take this and put it here. Okay. So, and this is possible with want to eat, but if you have something like said, This is no good. Okay, so this is supposedly. Now you can this is not very useful because all Hindi infinitives, restructuring or not, all of them are transparent for scrambling. Okay, so this is not going to be very useful. So this is a German diagnostic which is scrambling. Now another diagnostic that is being given, say for Italian and Spanish, is clitic climbing. Okay, so clitic, in many Romance languages, pronouns are realized by clitics, and clitics are these tiny pronouns which don't sit in the object position. Instead, so instead of saying I, or instead of saying John read it, what you say is something like John, it read. So the clitic comes and sits on the verb, or it might sit on the auxiliary, but it does not sit in the lower position, comes and sits up here. Okay. So now what we find is, so now I'm going to give you the example.
So what do we conclude from the German example?
What we conclude is, sorry, I did not, was not clear. So this is plus restructuring. So what people have said is, that there's a difference, even though this infinitival clause looks the same. The idea is that with said, the infinitival clause is larger structurally and it blocks scrambling, while in this case it allows for scrambling. Okay. And now I'm going to show you something similar for the Romance case. So in the Romance case, we start with something like John wanted to read it, and John said to read it. Okay. Now in both cases you can do short distance clitic climbing, short distance, in fact you have to. So you can say John wanted to it read, and you can say John said to it read. Okay. In fact you cannot leave the clitic pronoun down there, it has to move. Okay. But with want you can do further clitic movement. So you can say John it wanted to read. But you cannot say John it said to read. So this step, so again the idea is this is plus restructuring, this verb is minus restructuring. Okay. So, but the diagnostics, what works for German does not work for Romance and vice versa. So there's that. But they're both going for a similar intuition, which is the plus restructuring cases are somehow transparent in a way that the minus restructuring cases are not transparent. So what we need is diagnostics for clausal transparency. And the diagnostics may be different, are quite likely going to be different in different languages. So I'm going to come up with one diagnostic which I think works. I think it doesn't quite work in the way I would like it to, but let's try. So I'm going to use that side. Indirectly. The verb itself, at least the way we have arranged things, the verb does not is not itself agreeing, right? But what the verb does do is the verb determines what kind of infinitive you can take. So some verbs can take small infinitives, and some verbs will take big infinitives. The ones that only take big infinitives, they will never do long distance agreement. They will not be plus restructuring. And then there might be verbs which only take small complements. So then maybe those will always display these effects. But what's much more common is that there are verbs which can take both kinds of complements, big complements, small complements. Yeah. Okay, so here is one diagnostic which I think works for Hindi. So to do these diagnostics, I'm going to show you two tests which we need, and they both actually, if we come back, when we talk about negation, these tests will come back. So the first one is a very simple fact, which is that if in order to license NPIs, you need a negation. So if you say, here's a nice NPI in Hindi, ek bhi. So एक भी लड़का आया, one even boy came. This, as is not a good sentence. I mean, syntactically it's a perfect sentence, but there's something wrong with it. एक भी लड़का आया is not right. In order to make it right, you can put in एक भी लड़का नहीं आया. Okay? It's not just that you can put nahi anywhere. Nahi needs to be, in some sense, nahi needs to be in a place where it can license this guy. Okay. So, for example, let me do a finite clause example. So something like, okay, so let's put in a subject. Okay, so yeah. So this is another NPI, koi bhi. So roundative neg seems that someone even come. राम को नहीं लगता कि कोई भी आएगा. So this is a case where you have an NPI which is licensed across a clause boundary. So, but that's okay. This clause is in the semantic scope of the negation, right? So this works. What's interesting is let me now switch things around a little bit. किसी को भी लगता है कि राम नहीं आएगा. That's no good. Okay? So it's not enough to just have a negation. The negation needs to be in a place where it can take scope over the NPI. Okay? So one thing we will say MPI needs, I mean, as the name suggests, needs negation to take scope over it. Okay, that's one. The second point actually I already accidentally ended up illustrating, which is there's a class of verbs in Hindi which require an auxiliary. So take something like any habitual participle, right? So if I say Ram phal khata, I cannot stop there. I have to say Ram phal khata hai, khata hoga, khata tha. I need to have an auxiliary. Okay. Likewise with Ram phal kha raha, hai, tha, hoga. Okay. You cannot just have raha. You cannot just have ta. Except if you negate these sentences. You don't know why, but miraculously, if you negate, if you say Ram phal nahi kha raha, Ram phal nahi khata, these are all fine without the auxiliary. It's worth thinking about the